Just last summer, I was sitting on the beach in Hawaii with a business owner. It was well after 8 p.m. Sun was going down. It was a beautiful sunset. And her face was in her phone because her team had texted her with an urgent issue. Should we refund a customer $200? Yes or no? That's not a vacation. All that is working in a different time zone with a different view and a bad Wi-Fi connection. If this sounds familiar to you, or if you're already stressing about how the next 12 weeks are going to go, this episode is for you. We're not going to be talking about out-of-office replies here. We're not going to be talking about documenting SOPs. We're not going to be talking about how to fortify your business. Y'all have heard that. Today, we're going to talk about the 5 things that almost nobody does to prep for a vacation as a founder. And any one of them, anyone is going to help you have the summer that you dream of right now, today, in the next 12 weeks. I am Melissa Franks, and I am the host of the Opt-in podcast. I own On Call COO, which is a fractional COO services company. We're business consultants. We're not coaches. And we also know, working with small businesses across every sector imaginable, that summer-proofing your business matters. Why? Because most of you started your business so you could enjoy vacation, so you could have time away with your family and your friends. And that means being able to enjoy summer with not being in the office and in your phone when that sunset is happening right in front of you. It also means that we see the same problems happen over and over and over again, and that maybe the tactics that were used in the prior year to be able to get that vacation aren't going to work this year. So we're going to walk through the 5 things that we help our clients with every year, and they're the things that nobody talks about, nobody shares, nobody does. Are you ready for them? The very first thing that we advise our clients to do is to run something called a ghost week before the real vacation. Now, this does not need to happen the week before. I just want to preface that. This is just a ghost week. And this is because the biggest mistake that founders make is telling their team they're about to test the business. A real test is one that they don't see coming. So this is what's going to happen. You're actually going to secret shop your business. Have you ever heard of that? The people that come into a store and they are a shopper as far as everybody knows, but they're actually really there to test what the experience is like. They fill out a report, they send it back to the headquarters office, and then over time, headquarters understands what it's like to be a real shopper inside of the store without ever actually telling the store employees that they're being tested. This ghost week for you is exactly the same way. So let's say that you have a vacation in July. The whole team knows, everybody's aware, you're going to be out for 10 days, and it's May, and you're really, really anxious about it. You're not sure how it's going to work out. This is what you do. You pick a week in June, and you're going to block it. You're going to make yourself completely unavailable. You may even tell them that you're going on another week of vacation and you just decided, or maybe you say that it's deep work so that it looks normal. You can decide the reason that you're unavailable for that week in June. Then what you're going to do is you're just going to quietly stop doing your usual work. You're not going to approve anything. You're not going to answer any emails. You're not going to course correct them. Not by a long shot. Then you're going to, be around, but you're not physically present. You're seeing what's happening. You're looking at the Slack channels. You're looking at the emails. You're just not engaging with them. You're monitoring what's happening. You want to see what's happening. It's like a controlled burn. It's not a wildfire yet. You can actually contain and control it. And you're going to watch for 3 things. What breaks? Who escalates? What does nobody catch? You're just testing it. What happens? The data may be uncomfortable, but it's also priceless because you'll see exactly what's decision ready versus who's been performing decision readiness because you were watching. What does that mean? It tells you who's actually ready to run the business without you being there to be their check and balance, and who isn't. Who's performative, who pretends like they're ready to run the business when they know that you're watching, and as soon as you aren't watching, who steps back. This is kind of that old adage of traditionally in corporate offices when you knew the boss was traveling for the week, and everybody would come in a half an hour later. They would take extra long lunches. They would leave early in the afternoon because nobody was watching. But when the boss was not traveling, they were there at 7:30 in the morning, and they would work until 7 p.m. at night and not take a lunch and not go to the gym, right? This is the same sort of thing. You're looking for the behaviors that they demonstrate when they know that you're not available and you're not watching while you are actually watching. So the reason that this is an unusual tactic is because nobody tests their team in stealth mode. What everybody does instead is announces very loudly months in advance, I'm taking a vacation, I'm taking a vacation, I'm taking a vacation. And then you put a whole bunch of energy, work, and attention into preparing the team for you to take the vacation. And you don't actually ensure they're ready for you to step out of the business. You just ensure that they're ready for you to step out of the business during that time. So we had one client who ran a ghost week, and they discovered something that they didn't expect. And that was that they had a stealth leader in their team. What does that mean? There was a member of the team who didn't require a lot of attention, who didn't ask for a lot of coaching, who wasn't the first to shout out a win or a success or ask for an accolade or a pat on the back. Instead, that person was just quietly working. And when the ghost week actually ran, what we realized is the stealth leader stepped up. The stealth leader was the one that identified when a ball got dropped and made sure it got picked back up. This stealth leader was the one that was solving problems before they escalated. The stealth leader was the one that was triaging things that came through. And at the end of that ghost week, what we realized was that we had somebody with immense respect and trust and smarts that could run things in a greater capacity than they were. So that person ended up getting promoted. And we would have never realized it because they were just kind of operating in the background. They were hidden away by the people that were louder and demanded more attention. Sometimes the ghost week actually shows you when there are amazing things working in your business that you should really be harnessing and taking advantage of. So I want you to consider, if this is making you anxious and you're like, I don't know that I can do this. If you can't survive a stealth week in your own office when you're not actually on vacation, you're definitely not going to be able to take a 2-week vacation and survive, let alone on a different continent, in a different time zone, in a different environment. So if you can't do this right now, if you can't say it's Thursday, you know what, Monday through Friday next week I'm working on a special project and I am not available. If you can't do that in your business right now, don't even try to go on the vacation. You have real problems that you need to address before you can even think about it. Now, tip number 2 is all about trying to make decisions in advance, banking decisions. You've got to think about it this way. Your team isn't slow because they don't know how to do things. They're slow because they don't know if they're allowed. So often we hear business owners say, my team is so slow. It's not that they're slow. It's not that they're not smart. It's not that they can't act quickly. It's that they're not sure if they're allowed to. They're not sure if they're going to get in trouble. And this is not an SOP conversation. This is not a process or a system conversation, because all the SOPs do is answer how. Pre-decisions answer yes or no. These are 2 different problems. If your team doesn't know how to do something, write the SOP, teach the SOP. But if it's that they don't know if they should or what they should do, that's a different problem. So this is what you are going to do for this tip. You're going to sit down for 30 minutes and you're going to list the 20 micro decisions your team asks you about the most. You may actually need to keep track for a week. Every single decision you have to take, what are they? It's things like giving a customer a refund. It's things like extending a deadline. If a vendor is asking a question, contracts reviews, hiring negotiations, content approvals, social posts, copy editing, all the things that you're asked to touch on a weekly basis. Then what you're going to do is you're going to create the rules. You're going to create the decision framework for them already. And they're all going to have a clear ceiling. You know what? All of you are able to approve a refund if it is under $100. All of you can extend a trial period that is normally 30 days for another 15 days if somebody asks, or it will get somebody over the hump, or you think it will lead to a greater conversion. You can always spend $100 to give a client a gift. You don't even need to ask. This is a little bit of the Ritz-Carlton model wherein they gave all of their employees the ability to spend $200 to solve any client problem without approval. It didn't matter what it was. A waitress in a restaurant overhears that a guest is having a bathroom issue. They can call a plumber and get their toilet fixed. No harm, no foul. Don't have to ask anybody. Just get it done, right? This is the Ritz-Carlton method where you are just making it clear for them what decisions they can take, what the rules are, what the ceilings are, and how far they can go. You're going to give this list to the team in writing. This is permission. This is rules. This is not procedure. This is not how. This is how to decide. Most of the founder bottlenecks in a business aren't capability problems. They're actually authority problems because people don't know how much authority they have, so they assume they have none. Now, this is a little bit of an unusual tip because most delegation advice focuses on tasks. Think about it. When you are given advice about what to delegate, it's give this work to somebody else. This focuses on the invisible permission structure that traps everything. You can delegate tasks all of the time, but if you do not also associate it with a permission structure, a decision structure, then it's a useless activity for you to do. Because in the end, if a decision has to be taken in the course of a task and the person doesn't know if they can take it, you never delegated anything. You actually probably made it worse because they have to stop what they're doing and they have to come talk to you and they have to explain, and then you have to do the task too, and then you get to a decision. It's an absolute mess. So maybe right now, the right thing for you to do is just pause this episode. Open a notes app, get your notebook out. I'm a hand note taker, maybe you are too, and write down the 5 things that your team has asked you in the last 2 weeks that you wish they just decided. What are those things that are grating on you that it's like Friday night at like 7 o'clock and you're like, man, I'm so irritated that I got asked this question 4 times this week. Those are your first 5 pre-decisions. Those are the first 5 things where you create a permission structure around it so they know exactly what they need to do. The hour that you spend writing these pre-decisions might be the highest leverage hour you spend all year. And if you take this and put it into practice, not just as vacation prep, but as just good business hygiene, you are going to buy back time faster than delegating. I promise you. Tip number 3 is ask the reverse delegation question. This one is a counterintuitive tip. You are going to stop delegating with your list. You're going to start the delegation conversation with one question. And this is the question. If I disappeared for 30 days starting Monday, completely unreachable, completely off-grid, completely unavailable, what would you do differently and what would you need from me before I go? Ask each person separately. Just listen. Do not react. 3 things are going to happen. 1, they will surface bottlenecks you didn't know existed. 2, they'll tell you that they can handle more than you assumed. Or 3, the conversation flips the dynamic. They take ownership instead of you assigning it. And then what you want to do is you're going to take all this information and you want to compare the answers across the team. Misalignment between 2 people who think they own the same thing is gold. This helps you determine how harmonized the team is in working together, where there are overlaps, where there are gaps, and what to do. It puts the team in the problem-solving mode instead of compliance mode, and it asks them to imagine you gone. Most delegation conversations imagine them being given more. It completely changes the equation. What would happen if you couldn't get me? How would you do your job? How would you show up in the business? What would you do? And what would you need to know before that happens? Versus, hey, I'm taking off for a few weeks. You take this, you take this, you take this, you take this. Do you see how that conversation is incredibly different? Because when they say, hey, you know what I would need to do while you're out is I need to post 30 days of social content. So what I would need to know from you is X, Y, and Z. Versus if you had said post 30 days of social content, they never get the chance to go back to you and say, hey, wait a second, I need something from you. Your team has more answers than you are giving them room to share, and this question creates the room. It also will highlight where they need things from you in order to make this successful that maybe you haven't thought of. The 4th tip is to book the trip before the business is ready. If you are waiting for the business to be ready before you take a vacation, you will never take a vacation. The reality is the business is never going to be ready. You are never going to feel like it is ready. Never, ever, ever. Case in point, today, literally today, I took my eldest son to the Department of Motor Vehicles. He took his test. He passed. He has a driver's license. Not only did he pass, he only missed 3 points. Not only did he only miss 3 points, one of those I'm not even counting because one of them he got wrong because he was driving 1 mile per hour above the speed limit. 1. So basically he missed 2 points on his driver's test. By all, authority bodies, kid's ready to drive. I don't feel like he's ready to drive without me in the car. But who am I to say that he's not, because he passed the test and a person whose job it is responsible to deem him ready said he's ready, right? So it's the exact same thing. He could probably be 40 and I won't feel like he is ready to drive. However, the reality is that now is as good a time as any. It's the same with your business. You will never feel like your business is ready for you to take the vacation, so just take it. That's why you started the business after all, was to be able to take vacation when you wanted. And what happens is you say, I'll travel when X is in place. I will travel when X milestone is hit, and X continues to change. I'll travel when we make $1 million. I'll travel when we make $2 million. I'll travel when we have 10 employees. I'll travel when we have 15 employees. You keep moving the needle down. So, you know what you should do? Is you have to force yourself into action. Book a non-refundable trip first. Tell your family. Tell your team. The artificial deadline is going to force you to make decisions you've avoided for years and wouldn't have taken unless you had to. Hiring. Maybe you've been procrastinating that. Processes that you've tolerated. Conversations you've delayed. Employees you need to fire but you just don't want to deal with it. All of that happens because you have a deadline that you have to hit. This is the operational equivalent of burning the boats. You're not preparing to leave. You're preparing because you are leaving. It is inevitable. And the bonus here is that the visible commitment changes how the team behaves. They believe you. You're not just blowing smoke. You're not living in a what-if land. Past attempts to step back probably didn't work because you didn't act like they would work. This time they have to. There's no choice. You've put too much skin in the game. You're already committed. This one is a little bit unusual because almost every productivity expert says create the conditions first. And listen, I'm a real operator. I don't know how to be anything else. And I'm going to tell you right now that the conditions follow commitment, not the other way around. I want you to really think about yourself in this realm. And I want you to think about where this has been true in other places. I know for me that every time I consider this concept of making the commitment for the thing that I really want so that I force myself into action, it works. And what do I mean by that? Me starting this business was me forcing myself to do something and making it work because there were no other choices. I booked a couple of VIP days that are one-on-one VIP days earlier this month, and that is work. But it's work that I love, and it's not something I do very often. And the action of committing to doing those forced me to do a bunch of other things inside of the business that I had just been putting off. What I want you to know is that when you make a commitment to yourself to do something, and then you put skin in the game, in this case, it's paying for the vacation and not being able to get the money back. You will force yourself to do the things that you are avoiding and ignoring because you have no other choice. I want you to just think that the plane ticket is the operating system upgrade your business has been waiting for. Just didn't realize it. And then the last tip, we've probably talked about this before because it's one of the ones that I love, is what you need to do is you need to calendar the return, not just the departure. The reason your last vacation didn't feel like a vacation a week later is because you came back on a Monday with a full calendar. What ended up happening is everything that you needed to do while you're out on vacation, it just all showed up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of the week that you were coming back. Now, everybody blocks their time off. Almost nobody plans what it's going to look like when they come back. I always recommend for you to come back on like a Thursday. And that's because there's really only 2 working days left. You can hop back in. You basically tell people, hey, it's a softer return from vacation. I'm back in full force on Monday, but Thursday and Friday, this is my catch-up days. It's where we are a little bit slower. We don't have team meetings, and it's going to allow me to get back in and see what's going on and move forward. And then what I want you to do is Monday, that's where your team is like setting the week and doing triage and like resetting all the things. So participate. But don't really book in any sort of external meetings until later in the week that you return. Target those for Wednesday or Thursday. That way you have almost a full business week of catching up with the team, looking at things that you need to, reviewing what was handled and what wasn't, and just doing an analysis of how things went while you were gone. If you walk back into a fully booked calendar, you're going to erase the rest that you took. You're going to be absolutely exhausted. You're going to piss off your team because you're going to come in like a bull in a china shop and try to take back over without actually understanding what has happened before. And what you really need is you need a little bit of a recovery window to recover from the vacation and to context switch back into operating mode. Vacation advice always obsesses over departure and preparing for the departure. The return is where 90% of the value is lost. You will never think fondly on that vacation if when you came back you were buried in work. You just won't. And when you return, one of the things that I like to really recommend is that you schedule a 60-minute team debrief on the Wednesday or Thursday after you return. This isn't a status update, it's a debrief. What worked well when I was gone? What didn't? What do you want to keep doing this way? Like, what should we keep doing permanently even though I'm back from vacation? This is where the vacation turns into a permanent operating change instead of a temporary break. It's a great time to test things. It's a great time to just switch stuff up. It's a great time to see like what's working really well and to do more of it. Vacations end where they begin, at your calendar. Protect both sides of the trip. So here's the thread that's running through all 5 of these tips. Every one of them shifts the question from how do I prevent problems while I'm gone to what does my business reveal about itself when I'm not there? The second question is the one that actually builds a business you can step away from, not just this summer, but for the rest of the time that you own it. If you ran a ghost week starting tomorrow and didn't like what you saw, or if reading about pre-decisions made you realize how your team is waiting on you for everything, this is an example of some of the work that we do with the founders that we work with at On Call COO. If you want some help and support trying to figure this out, you can book a free consultation call with us. The link is in the show notes. And we'll take a look and come up with a couple of operational shifts that you can make right now that will help your summer feel incredibly different. I want you to know that it is possible for you to love your business and to step away from it and enjoy your summer and your vacations and your family and all the things. The founders I work with who actually take real vacations all have one thing in common. They stopped treating time off as a reward and they started treating it as a diagnostic. So I'm going to recommend that you try that this year. Until we meet again, friends, please know that you are wise and you are strong and you are capable, and I believe in you.